All right, y'all, we are back with another one. Today we're going to be hitting a little stop. It was back on our way from Hartwell. It was a whole lot of fun. Caught some super duper deep spotted bass. Beautiful lake, one of the most beautiful lakes I've ever been on. Mountains everywhere, the leaves were turning. Just absolutely gorgeous scenery. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the video and share it with someone you know. And I'll catch you guys on the water.
I'm gonna throw an applejack at him.
What?
An applejack at him.
Did they come up and eat it? Okay, so I kind of want to take you through my progressions here and then my ideas because a lot of anglers don't really talk about that. They'll just show you a video. So first off, this is the first spot. It was a point that came out pretty well for this lake. A lot of spots on the main lake were just kind of big channel swings. It was a super deep lake. I was sitting in, until I got up on this point, I was sitting in roughly 80 to 90 foot of water most of the time, which is super crazy. There wasn't really a visible thermocline. So my first thought was, okay, these bass could be out deep and they could pull up on this point, shallow, to feed. There was some fish on the point. There was some brush pile on the point. I couldn't get them to bite, so I'm not sure if they were bass or crappie. More than likely, they were crappie. They could have been very small spotted bass. So I decided that this bank looked pretty good to go down and continue going down because there was a lot of structure on it. There was a lot of wood. Something that I really like doing, no matter what lake it is fishing the wood. It's a good way to accidentally catch a big largemouth. I'm not really sure what the main population of fish in this lake was. I'm assuming spotted bass because it's what I'm mostly caught throughout the day. So then after I went through the progressions, fished some structure and didn't get bit and didn't have any followers out of the structure, I went out in the middle of a creek channel, which is what I'm doing here. This is about 30 foot of water, just to see if I could find some roamers, some schoolers. And then there was a flat directly across from the point, which I ended up fishing for a little bit. And then I decided to pick up and run. There was a super duper deep creek, which is deeper than all the other creeks on the lake. And being from, having a lot of experience on Lake Cumberland and stuff and scoping out in the middle of creeks and stuff and creek channels, I know it's a good place for bait to congregate and for fish to just roam up and down. And this creek, I'm sitting in 80 foot of water right here, even though it doesn't really look like it. All the others, you would be sitting in like 5 foot of water in the spot that I'm at. So that really helped me and ended up being what I used to catch this fish that you're about to see. So. Got a fish.
Is it a good one?
No.
What is it?
I mean, it's not that bad. It's not a big one, but
Creek.
yeah, very cold spot. Okay, so I just caught that fish pretty deep in about 35 foot of water. He was a solo. I believe he was hanging on a tree down at the bottom. It has been a while since I caught the fish. I don't exactly remember the exact situation, but he was in about 35 foot of depth, and I caught him on a minnow. So I'm just going down this creek looking for more. I'm not really seeing anything, but I am seeing a lot of bait on the bottom and around 60 foot of water. And a lot of the times, the bass will tend to feed in the depth of water that the bait is in. So if you see them in a depth of water that bait is not in, they're less likely to feed. And then after that, I didn't end up getting on anything, but I knew that there was bass in the creek, so I decided to fish the bank for a little bit to see if I could find any largemouth or any more spotted bass. And I did have some spotted bass follow my bait off of the structure, so I pulled out a spinner bait and just started going down the bank and to see if I could get a bite. Unfortunately, it didn't really pan out. You can see me in the back of this cove here, and I was really hoping the largemouth would be there. If that was Lake Cumberland, there would 110% be a largemouth there. And then after I didn't get a bite doing that, I started working my way out of this creek. I had some followers along here throwing a spinner bait. So I tried something else. I'm not even sure what I just pulled. I think I can't tell, honestly. Oh, it's top water. I picked out a walker because the water is super duper clear. It was probably about 10-foot visibility. Fished it around some structure to see if I get anything to rise on it. Unfortunately, I didn't get any followers. So I went back out to scoping the middle. And then right here, you can see I found a school. So I'm trying to chase them down. They're moving super duper fast, which is a problem a lot of times, especially if they're super deep. Normally, if those fish are up in the water column, it's a whole lot easier to get on them because there's less distance that you have to predict because those fish could just change on a dime. And then eventually I do find them and get on them. That feels pretty good. But he's also like super duper deep, so I don't know. Nah, he's not that big.
You get bigger?
He's okay. Pretty good. That bass was in 50 foot of water at one point with the school level. Kind of insane, honestly.
You're at it 2 pounds. Shoot open. It's a pretty fish.
Okay, so after that fish catch, my mind's really only on one thing, and that is channels, deeper channels, whether it be main lake or creek channels. That they're carrying the bait and the fish are moving through those channels. So that's really what I'm focusing here. You can see me go back out on the main lake, and it happens to be a channel swing right there. The entire thing is a channel swing bank. I'm seeing a lot of fish here. They're not all bass. There are some really, really big fish, so I do mess with those for a little while. If you guys are ever fun fishing and the bass bite's not that good and you see really big fish, especially if you have live scope, try and target them. It's really, really fun. I got to watch them look at my bait all day. I still don't know what they are. They weren't paddlefish. They weren't like a carp or anything because they'd be interested in my minnow. I would say that they were striper, but if they were striper, I more than likely would have caught one. So honestly, I'm still not sure. But there were also some big bass mixed in with those. So I'm assuming that the bass that were mixed in were spotted bass. So I'm just going down this bank, live scoping. I pretty much committed my day to live scoping at this point, just because I've already caught 2 on it. I know the bait's super deep and the fish that I'm catching are super deep. I mean, I've thrown some fish up on the bank, but they just wouldn't act right. And the fish that I've thrown in 50 to 30 foot of water have bit. So that's really just what I'm targeting at this point. So I'm continuing just to go down this bank and look for that. I'm using an oversized minnow for these spotted bass. So if you're ever scared about the size of your bait, it's really just all situational. So the water temperature was super duper cold. I do tend to like bigger baits the colder the water temperature gets. If you guys didn't know that big gizzard shad and shad tend to have more of a fatty concentration than your bluegill, your crawfish, and your littler shad, this helps the bass get fattened up for winter because they're not going to be eating as much. They'll still eat, but If you ever wonder why your fish in the winter are fatter than they are in the summer or any other time of the year, it's because these fish are primarily foraging on bigger bait, fattier bait, so they can stay healthy throughout the winter. That's a lot of reasons that people can pick up big glide baits towards the wintertime, Alabama rigs, and even going into the pre-spawn or right after the spawns, these fish are trying to get fattened up for their egg production and such like that. And then if you wonder why a jig or something does so well, I mean, it does well all the times of the year, but why it does well in the summer and gets those big bites is because fish are feeding up on protein. Same thing with why the bluegill spawn is so effective in the way it lines up with the bass spawn is because bluegill are very, very high in protein, and these bass are trying to feed on protein later, like when it gets warmer. So that's why using this oversized minnow worked in this situation because the water temperature was cooler. Even though the fish were smaller, they still wanted to target that bigger forage. And this is leading up to my last fish catch of the day. I did end up targeting some more laydowns, like what this fish came off of, but it just didn't produce. Alright, you guys, hopefully you did enjoy. I know that I had a lot of fun making it. Eli slept in the back while I fished, but it was a whole lot of fun getting it going on a different lake. Didn't catch a whole lot, but there were a whole lot of bass in there. The bite just wasn't the best. It didn't really help that they were so far down. It was super hard to get a minnow in front of them, or just any bait really. There were some baits that probably could have worked better, but I just can't get them down to 40 foot when they're going that fast. If you guys know a lot about fishing for deep bass that are moving at a high speed, let me know down in the comments how to catch those bass, because it's obviously something that I'm not very skilled at and that I could use some more work. If you haven't already, go hit the like button, subscribe button, turn on post notifications so that you never miss a video, and share it with somebody you know. It helps me out, it helps out the channel. We got some big news coming this January, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully we can get some hunting videos in this hunting season, and yeah, there's going to be some videos pop up. Go watch them, please. They're great. I really enjoy making these videos, and let me know what type of videos that you guys want to see in the comments.